Welcome to the Anonymous Andrew podcast. Life and the choices we make. The choices other people make. Why we choose to ignore the red flags. Red flags like gaslighting, cheating, addiction, mental illness, and much more. What role do they play in relationships? Follow me each week as we discuss these topics with anonymous guests and experts to hopefully become better humans, resulting in better choices. And like I say, been there, still doing that. Now on to the show. Welcome to the Anonymous Andrew podcast, Life and the Choices We Make. So today's episode is a continuation, or part two, maybe, of episode 50. On episode 50, I had Marilyn Penny, who is a spiritual life coach, and Marilyn reads Akashic Records. Akashic Records is the record that the universe keeps on each of us, the spirit in us. Listen to episode 50, you'll get the full explanation there. So in that episode, she did my past relationship reading. Today, she's going to do a property cleansing reading. And instead of trying to explain what that is, I'll let the episode do all the talking. So enjoy this next episode, and we'll talk to you on the other side. Hello, everybody. Anonymous Andrew back with you with another episode. And today we are doing almost like a part two. With me today, again, is Marilyn Penny. And in episode 50, you heard Marilyn and I talk about, first of all, Marilyn, welcome again.
Thanks, Andrew. Great to be here.
So let's do a little recaps what we did in episode 50 for those either who didn't listen or what did we do in episode 50? You did a reading for me. Marilyn Penny is explain to the audience what it is you do.
Sure. So I'm a spiritual life, and I work with the Akashic Records to uncover and clear blocks that are standing in your way, in your relationships with yourself, with other people, and also with your space. So with Andrew, we started out because this podcast is all about relationships and sort of getting through the blocks and sort of the breakdown and why that happens. We did a relationship reading first. And we've uncovered and cleared some blocks, and Andrew's been working on his homework for 21 days. And now we're going to move into a property energy clearing that sort of goes hand in hand. And I can talk a bit later about why.
Okay. So, all right. So Marilyn gave me homework, which was really a 2.5 page reading that I have to read every night for 21 days. And I've done that. I've completed that, I think, yesterday or the day before. So I can tell. So in this reading, I'm asking the record keepers of the Akashic Records to basically, and obviously correct me if I'm off here, to wipe my slate clean, break me free from the contracts that my soul has entered into in past relationships.
Yeah, it's the blocks that we've uncovered. So the stories stay there, like you've had those experiences, but it's just those things that get stuck, those, a constraint or a vow or a contract, something that's binding you to another soul that is not healthy for you in order to move on.
Right. And so this homework that I read every night, I asked the keepers of the Akashic Records to to
clear the blocks. What you're really doing is affirming. So I request the clearing in the records, and then we talk about it. You acknowledge those blocks are there, and so we clear them together, and then you affirm the clearing through the reading. So you're sort of training your subconscious, convincing your subconscious and your ego that I'm done with these blocks now. They're done.
And I have to say, it has worked. How do I put this? Up until recently, and once again, but for everybody listening, many of these recordings are done a month or so before you hear them. But so right now we're in the early July. By the time you hear this, it'll be August. But up until this point, or up until when Marilyn and I first did our first interview, I was still struggling with some of these past relationships, with the connection that I had to these past women I was with. And this homework that she gave me, and the reading and learning about these blocks, I have seemed to been able, I feel like something has been lifted from me. Would that be the right way to?
Great. That's
Yeah.
great.
So, okay.
Good. So it'll allow you now to make better choices in your relationships and to be aware of your triggers and things that maybe aren't serving you in a relationship. And remember, the lesson was temperance, balance, and making sure that a relationship is balanced. There's give and take, give and receive, right?
And yes, and I don't know if this has anything to do with this, but I mentioned this to Marilyn right before we started recording. As soon as I finished the homework, within 24 hours, a woman on a dating app reached out to me. So I don't know if that's a coincidence, you know. And
it's another test.
And I have not been talking to anybody on any dating apps for the past several months, because when I was 2 or 3 months ago on the dating apps, I realized I just wasn't ready, so I kind of just put the dating apps away. But I received a message yesterday, I think it was yesterday afternoon, from a woman who reached out to me and liked my profile, and she said hello to me. And I don't know if that's a coincidence, or if the Akashic Records said, okay, so now that we've cleared those blocks, is it a test? Is it a?
Well, that's what I was saying, but I think it's because you've cleared your energy, so you're attracting now someone that's vibrationally connected to you. So let's see how that works, right?
Yeah. Well, and I will keep you and the audience updated where that goes. Obviously I'm not looking for a relationship right now, but just the fact that I'm going to talk to a woman that I haven't talked to women in months, and now all of a sudden I seem to be thrown back into the fire, which I'm happy about, but I'm going to take it very slow and see where it goes. So, okay. With all that said, I live in a home where not one, but two of my past relationships the women spent a lot of time here. Specifically, the last one she didn't live with me, but she spent an enormous amount of time here. I couldn't go to her house. She spent time here. Her energy is all over this apartment. So what Marilyn is going to do today is a property clearing, right? Well, you explain it, and then let's get into it.
Sure. Yeah, it's a property energy clearing. So what I do is I just take your address, and I can actually access the records for your particular space and ask for what is in there that is, what's negative, what's dragging you down, what isn't serving you in the property. So I'll go through all the pieces of it, and we'll sort of explain why. And it's not going to be everything of the people's energies that are in there, only what gets stuck. So only what needs to be cleared.
Okay.
So the first thing that I look for are open portalways. So these are energetic portals that are allowing things like earthbound souls or negative energies to come and go in your space. So we don't like those to be open. Those are spots in your place that feel a bit uncomfortable. Like some people will have a room that they don't spend a lot of time in. They'll have closets they don't use. If they have pets or small children that come in, they feel a little bit unusual in that energy. So I don't know if do you have any spots that you think might be a portal? Sometimes it's a temperature change. I've heard that. I've heard lots of different things. Some people know immediately because you use sage and crystals often. I'm going to suggest that you might not be aware of these.
Cat. that we adopted a year into our relationship. The cat's no longer with us. That's a whole separate story. That cat, every time that go into the bedroom, would go right to the closet. So it's like almost a walk-in closet with sliding doors.
Okay. Yeah.
My clothes and stuff. But the cat would go in there and spend a couple of minutes sniffing around, and we thought that was odd. And so we cleaned that closet with sage and we did our own cleansing. If anything, there's something in my bedroom in that closet, and so we have yet to identify what it is. But so going back to what you were talking about, there is one spot in my home that I don't feel comfortable with.
So what I do is when I clear all the negative energies out, I close the portals so that stuff can't come and go anymore. You can still create negative energies in your own space with the people that are inside the space, but it just shuts down. It gives them more energetically stable for your property, right? Okay. So that's that. And then the next thing are called independent negative thought forms. So an independent thought form is like believing in the tooth fairy. Somewhere somebody created a thought form and we subscribe to it. So that's what these are. So they fly in and out of your place. When you have portals open and people are creating negative thoughts and things get stuck. So there are 3 of these that are coming and going in your property. And the energies are confusion, despair, and pain. So can you relate to those energies?
Well, I'm thinking.
I would think in a relationship, the confusion seems to be pretty.
There was and you may have seen this, and if I can find it, I'll send it to you afterwards. There was a picture that was done by a famous artist way back in the 1920s and 30s. And what it is it's a picture of a woman sitting at a vanity with a mirror. And the mirror is circular, and in front of her is all her bottles of perfume or cologne or whatever.
Okay.
And if you look up close, it's black and white. And if you look up close, you can see the woman with her back towards the mirror with all these bottles lined up. But if you step 10 feet back and look at that picture, it looks like a skull.
Oh.
Okay, so it's an optical illusion. Now, this was a hand-me-down from my grandfather. It was in my parents' house as I was growing up. And when my parents moved to Florida and ultimately passed away, I wanted that picture because it terrified me as a child. But as an adult today, I thought it was a really neat thing. It ended up in my house. And when I started dating this woman last time, she saw that picture and immediately she said to me, "You have got to get rid of that," because she felt the bad energy coming off that picture. So I put that away in that closet that I'm talking about.
Oh, well, wasn't that interesting? Okay.
And it still bothered her. And then when I told you about the cat that would go to the closet, she said to me, "See," the cat's name was Gringo. She said, "See, Gringo knows that that's bad because you put that painting in the closet." I took it out of view from her, so I figured out of sight, out of mind. No, she still felt it there. I ultimately ended up selling it on eBay, which broke my heart, but I did this for her. Yeah, I wish I didn't do that. I do have it somewhere in my phone. I'll send you a picture of it. But anyway, I just figured I'd tell you that was part of. That's no longer here, but there was a while that during that relationship that became a rose thorn, a thorn in our relationship. I wanted to keep it. She wanted me to get rid of it. So, but I don't know if there was something residual left behind by that.
Possibly, sure.
Yeah. But let's
go back to depending on who it was with.
Yeah, and I don't, we looked it up online and Googled it, and it's some artist that was a little bit kooky back in the 1930s. I forget his name, but I can send that all to you later. But anyway, go back to the three things you said. There was confusion.
There's confusion, despair, and pain. So you've certainly experienced those things.
Yeah. Yeah.
Have been around for a long time, and that's been kind of creating some stuff in your relationships. Like it was not settled. There was always some pain or some argument or something going on, or misunderstanding, whatever it is, right? So yeah. So those are things that we can now clear out of the space.
Okay.
Okay. The next thing is earthbound souls. And an earthbound soul, there are three types of earthbound souls. These are souls that don't properly cross over. So they leave their essence here, and they can people, and they can attach themselves to properties. So there are earthbound souls that are connected to you. So it would be a family or someone close to you who's hanging around because they feel like they need to stay with you. And then there are independent earthbound souls, which are of no relation. They just are connected somehow to the space. And there are disruptive earthbound souls that have been around a long time, not connected to you, but messing with you, essentially, messing with your internet, your sleep, your disorganization, all kinds of stuff. So for you, there are two attached properties. One is connected to you somehow, that is sticking around. So it comes up as a family member, but family and close friend. Is there anyone that would be hanging around you, do you think?
My mother.
Who is that?
Before you even finish the sentence, my mother.
Oh,
I don't know if we talked about this in the last episode, but my mom and I were very close, and I was her only son. I have three younger sisters, and I'm the oldest. And I was the black sheep of the family. I was the alcoholic, and my mom was constantly worried about me. She is since been gone now, maybe 10 years, maybe, oh no, 2008, I think she died. Yeah, my mom. I could tell you some other stories about when we were here. There was some paranormal activity going on in this apartment. The ex was we were sitting on my bed one day talking, just having a conversation, and she jumped because she said a hand came across and stroked her face. Yeah. And she no pun intended, she turned white as a ghost. And because she said a hand stroked my face. So at the time, because we were madly in love with each other, we said, "Oh, it's my mom." And she said it was her, that she said that she sensed it was my mom, and that she accepted her as, "You're okay for my son." Of course, Mom, you were wrong, but
that could be her interpretation, or it could be your mother trying to scare her because she didn't want her there.
Now today, that's the explanation I'll accept. Back then, of course, my mind was in a different place. So, but yes, my mother is that person.
So here's what happens. It's your intention, if you want to release, if that's in fact it just allows her to fully transition. You don't need her to hang around and protect you. She can protect you from spirit. She can communicate with you better from spirit. So it is better that she is transitioned, right? Okay. So I do it with love. I do that through this work, which is lovely. I love that part of it. And the other one, which also could have been this soul that you had that experience with, is the disruptive earthbound soul. There's one of those, and those are the ones that kind of mess with you. So if you're losing things, or you're feeling disorganized, or a little scattered, or your sleep is disrupted, that's a disruptive soul literally saying, "I need help. I want to get out of here. I am stuck." I fully believe earthbound souls are going to hang around places where they know that people can help them, right? And they're also coming around because things are dark. Sorry.
Dark and how? Dark.
Things are, the energy, there's sadness or gloominess, and disruptive souls kind of they like to come in and mess with that. They like that.
Okay. So, two quick more stories, because there was one day when I was here alone, I was meditating, and some people meditate sitting up, some people meditate sitting on the floor. I meditate lying in bed. I was lying in my bed and I was meditating, and this happened twice. One time I felt somebody sit down on my bed. So, when you're on your bed, if your eyes are closed and somebody came into the room and sat on the bed, you would feel that. There was somebody who came and sat on my bed. There was another time that I was meditating that my eyes were closed, but I felt somebody was leaning over me. So I'm laying on the bed and somebody was like standing next to me on the bed, on the floor, but they leaned over and I felt their energy like staring down at me. And of course, when I opened my eyes, there was nobody there, but it scared the living daylights out of me. This happened. Yeah. So there are spirits or energies or residual stuff going on here.
Yeah. And that's all contributing to unstable energy and taking your energy. So we don't want any of that. So we need to clear all that out. So that's good. The next thing is a negative thought form that was created within the space. And that negative thought form is humility. And I definitely think that's you.
Okay. Yeah.
That feeling humbled all the time, like feeling like you're the second person. And this is your space, by the way. And you have you invite people to live with you, and then you feel humbled by all of that. So yeah, so you have to turn that around.
Okay. Yeah. No doubt. I agree.
There is one anger spirit that's directed at your property. So the only way an anger spirit can get stuck is if you receive it. So if someone is angry with you and you receive that, then it will get stuck. So if there was a fight in the place, or even after a breakup, somebody's throwing anger your way and you receive it, then it gets kind of stuck there. And that could come from anyone. It doesn't have to be from a relationship. It could be a family member, it could be a friend, it could be anybody.
Could have any of this been before I moved in here? I've been here about 3 years. Could any of this been here before I moved in? Or this is only...
I mean, typically you can say it could be from someone who was there before, but because it's still stuck there, I'm feeling that it's somebody has sort of thrown you some anger and you've just received it. So were there any like kind of anger outbursts like towards the end of relationships or with family? Or I mean, it could be you talking on the phone and having an argument with someone and they were not happy with you and you just received that. Oh yeah. Okay.
Without getting into details and drudging up the X again. There were conversations here that didn't go well. We didn't argue a lot, but when we did, there was heated discussions. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, well, that's all that means, is that there's some anger sitting in there, so you don't want that. So you want to clear that. And the last thing, I checked to see if the land was actually assigned as a home, or did it have another assignment, another energetic assignment. So the land that your place is on was originally a battleground. Would that make sense for where you live?
I was born here, moved to Arizona when I was younger, and then came back here when I was 10. You would think I would know more about where I live. I live on the South Shore. I might as well just say it. I live on the South Shore of Long Island, and I'm on a barrier island. I actually live on an island. There's a bunch of islands on the South Shore of Long Island that broke off. Also, Long Island is there's a lot of concentration of Native Americans here. Right. As a matter of fact, many of the towns on Long Island are named after Native American tribes. If anybody who's from New York, they know Cutchogue and Massapequa. I'm going to draw blanks, but there's at least 24 towns on Long Island here and out east that are Native American. So there could have been, and as you know, Manhattan was sold to the to Native Americans. So I'm not far from Manhattan. So yeah, there could have been a lot of
Good.
back in the 1600s when the settlers came here. There could have been a lot of fighting on.
Yeah. Yeah. So when you're living on a house that is originally assigned as a battleground on your space, it makes it a bit fiery. So
Mm,
you can get into arguments over nothing, essentially, or it could escalate when you're kind of like, why did that escalate? Why did that go bigger? Most
right.
people get it when I say your place used to be a battleground. They're like, oh yeah, I get that. So yeah, so these are the things that that happen that make things when you get energy stuck in your space and you start to feel that, like when we talked about humility, if you start to feel humble, like you just told me, this woman that you've met is quite good looking. Why is she interested in me? Right? So we clear these things out. I request a reassignment of the land to a home to stabilize the energy. And that's your reading.
Okay.
That's it. It's a quick one, but it's very
Yeah,
effective.
yeah. Well, so your what you just did has it. So I understand. Has it cleared this?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes,
good.
you and I discussing it. I did it this afternoon, and then you and I discussing it completes the clearing, and then we just see how you feel over the next few days. Now that you've done a reading and you've been releasing some things, now we're releasing the space. And this is really good to do, particularly when you've been in relationships and shared space with somebody, and they're no longer with you. They're not together anymore. They leave stuff behind, or they
Oh
have
yeah.
initiated feelings in you that are being stuck. This confusion, despair, and pain. You shouldn't be feeling that anymore. It's
No.
over. And
I have been able, of course, when the relationship ended for the first 3 to 4 months, everything that was here, I didn't explain this to my audience, but I have a very Zen apartment with a lot of Zen like stuff, without getting into details. And most of that was purchased by her and I and decorated by her. And it was very difficult to walk around the apartment and see all this stuff. But because I learned tarot cards and the metaphysical world, I kept going with it. I also I'm learning Spanish because she was Latina, and I continue to learn Spanish because I had already invested in it. You know, I'd signed up for a course, so I kept going. But it was difficult to. These were trigger moments for me. If I would see something that she bought especially in my bathroom or my kitchen, there's things that she bought down here to use for cooking, or she wanted done her way or whatever, and all of it's still here. But over the past several months, I've been able to not associate them with her. So they're my stuff now, and I use them. So
good.
Okay,
That's
Marilyn,
good.
thank you so much. So, to the audience, Marilyn and I are going to plan one more reading, and I think it's going to be called the Soul Realignment, right?
That's right.
And we're going to set that up in the next month or so, and that's going to be a little bit of a longer reading, so we're going to work out the logistics of that. Maybe we'll do that in 2 parts. But Marilyn, thank you so much for coming back on. By the way, you are my first repeat guest. By the time they hear your episode number 50, I've had 50 individual guests, or there are some solo episodes, but you're the first person who has made a second appearance on my podcast. So, and you'll be the first to make the third appearance.
Well, I am honored.
Well, and I appreciate your time and your knowledge and your experience in doing this, because I do believe in it. I lived it. I've been part of it, and I do feel much better now that you've helped me understand what's going on here or what has happened here. So, all right, everybody.
Great.
Marilyn Penny, and just tell everybody quickly where they can find you.
Yes, lifeguidecoaching.ca is my website. You can find me on social media, Instagram, Life Guide Coaching, Facebook. I'm around.
Okay. I to my audience, if you are into this, and I know there's a lot of people that do go to either psychics or tarot readers, but Marilyn specializes in Akashic records. If you don't know what that is, listen to episode 50, but or look it up. But it is a real thing, and I do believe in it. And I did a little bit of that over the past couple of years, but Marilyn has helped me understand it more, and yada yada yada. So thank you so much, Marilyn. We will do this again soon. We're going to set up another.
Great.
All right.
Excellent.
Okay.
Thanks so much. Take care.
Thank you for coming by again.
All right. Bye.
Well, thank you again, Marilyn, for coming by. Folks, in the beginning episodes, I touched upon that I have not a background, but as a hobby, I do tarot readings, and I was into the esoteric world. This podcast has kind of taken its place over the last 6 to 8 months. I haven't had much time to enjoy that hobby. But when I came across Marilyn Penny, and she does the Akashic records and works with the spiritual world, that is something that is very near and dear to my heart. It's something that I started to really get into over the past 4 or 5 years, and it was really very enjoyable. And there's more to come. She's going to do a soul realignment in the coming weeks, and that's going to be another. Folks, this is whether you believe in the spirit world or you believe in the Akashic records, or the concept that we are spirits having a human experience. This is all part of life, and clearing up some of the mistakes that I've made and messes I've made. A lot of what you just heard explains a lot of what's been going on in my life, and particularly where I live. So I hope you've enjoyed some of this, or all of it, if not some of it, and more to come. Anonymous Andrew here to say, please, if you're going to choose or need to make a choice, please choose wisely. Until next time, ciao.